What is good, everybody? Welcome back to another episode brought to you by the League FFB. Today, we are here for an episode of Let's Talk Dynasty, and we are doing a mock draft today. But the only thing is we're drafting players that have moved in free agency or signed new deals, whether that's being traded or then just signing a new deal in free agency. That is the player pool that we are drafting from today. As I said, it is an episode of Let's Talk Dynasty, so it would not be an episode without my co-host. Let's get MFGDs into the building, and let's start drafting these teams. War, how we doing, man?
We good, man. Feel like it's been forever, man. Feel like it's been forever. We got an exciting show. Let's do it.
Yeah, it definitely feels like it's been a long time. But like I said, today we're going to be drafting from a player pool of people who have moved during free agency. There's been a ton of change in the NFL since our last recorded video. A lot of people have changed teams, rumors, a lot of stuff still happening. To be honest, at the time of this recording, we kind of tried to wait it out. We pushed it out, over the weekend just to see if we could get some extra signings. Aaron Rodgers still hasn't signed. Russell Wilson, Diggs, Dobbins. There's a lot of guys. Amari Cooper, Keenan Allen. Tons of guys still haven't signed, but there's been so much movement that we could still draft a full starting lineup of each of our teams of players to talk about. So we're going to do it the same way we did our cornerstone video. Just back and forth. I draft one, you draft one, I draft one, you draft one. We go until we have a lineup. I will put those teams up at the end, but because you got the 101 in the cornerstone video, I'm going to take the 101 today. And my number one player, just to give people context too of which the teams we were drafting, it's a little bit of a smaller lineup, but it's super flex. 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, 2 flex. So 9 starting lineup positions. I'm going at the quarterback position. I'm taking Justin Fields, who just signed with the New York Jets. We're kind of Fields fans on this channel a little bit, at least for fantasy football purposes, but he signed a 2-year, $40 million deal. There was $30 million of fully guaranteed money with that. They reunite him with Garrett Wilson, with Jeremy Ruckert as well, Ohio State guy, Josh Myers, Ohio State guy. They kind of got an Ohio State team over there from that time where Justin Fields was there with the Ohio State Buckeyes. But I think this is going to be very good for him for fantasy football. We're talking about a guy who, when he plays as the starting quarterback for the NFL roster, he scores top 12 fantasy numbers for us in our fantasy football leagues. So I think this is a player with the rushing upside with Garrett Wilson and Breece Hall, who are probably going to be upgraded versions of what George Pickens and Najee Harris were for him there in Pittsburgh. There's going to be a lot of fantasy points to be had. And I think, to me, in this draft, for fantasy football purposes, he is my 101, and he's going to be the player that I take.
That's not bad, man. That's not bad. We love Justin Fields, man. Even though he's in a Jets jersey, we'll have faith, man. That rushing upside is something to believe in. That's for damn sure.
All right. I think there's a chance that he's probably going to be the $30 million guaranteed tells me that they at least are going to give him the entire year this year. So if you're looking for production this year, I think he's going to be great, especially in redraft formats, like where you don't have to worry about the long term. He's going to be probably a top 10 quarterback pick in redraft leagues. There's just a lot of upside with him. So yeah, that's why I pick him. You like the fit there with him? I mean, we kind of talked about it earlier. I told you, it feels like a month ago, that I felt like this was a good spot for him with Garrett Wilson. Do you like this fit?
Yeah, I love the fit. I think first of all, he has a coaching staff that believes in him. Aaron Glenn, he believes in him. He has Garrett Wilson, he believes in him. I've read something today saying that Garrett Wilson wasn't seeing eye to eye with Aaron Rodgers the entire season, but now he said he has a quarterback that he can respect coming to the team. So I think it's going to be fireworks. But just like I know, friendship doesn't mean much. We've seen that with Derek Carr and with Davante Adams. So I mean, if he's not getting those touches, then that friendship can start to sour just a little bit.
Probably. All right. So what are you going to do here at the second pick, I guess?
With the second pick, I'm going to roll with old reliable Mr. T. Higgins, my second pick, the man who was franchise tagged, the man who's been getting screwed over by this cheap Bengals franchise for the last I don't know how long. Man's been begging for his contract. He looks over. Burrow got his money. Chase got his money. T won his money, but they said they negotiating. T could have been a Pat. He could have been on one of these teams, wide receiver 1, but I like him returning as a wide receiver 2, linked up with Joey Burrow a little bit more than him going to some of these other teams as a number 1. T. Higgins is an absolute stud, especially in those games where either Chase is getting double teamed and locked down. Well, you can't really lock down Chase. Can't really lock him down, but you can you can contain him just a little bit. Those are the games that T. Higgins got. And I just want to ride with the upside of him having Joe Burrow by his side.
Yeah, I mean it's gonna be interesting, dude, to see what happens with this Bengals team because I mean they're paying Chase, they want to pay T, supposedly is what they say. They've been saying it for 2 years. I'll believe it when I see it, but they paid.
Yeah.
We'll probably talk about him later. Gesicki got a contract extension. There's other people that want extensions on this. Look, bro, they are going to have no defense. They're letting their best defensive players walk away. Their best defensive players are hitting the open trade market. They're going to be a team that is going to have to throw for 50 points a game just to keep up because their defense can't stop nobody. It's going to be crazy to see, but I think for fantasy football purposes, it's going to mean a lot of fantasy football points for Jamar Chase, for T. Higgins, for these guys. So as much as Bengals fans, I'm sorry, this is probably not the proper way to build a roster in the NFL. This is going to mean a lot of fantasy football opportunities. So I don't mind the T. Higgins choice. I think for me, he was probably the best wide receiver, at least available in our player pool today. So that kind of makes me want to go a different way. I thought about maybe going and grabbing, another quarterback because there's not that many have signed yet and you haven't took a quarterback on your roster yet, but I figured I would follow suit and take a wide receiver. I'm going to go DK Metcalf. DK Metcalf was traded from the Seattle Seahawks for a second-round pick in 2025. As soon as he got to Pittsburgh, signs a 5-year, $150 million deal to be the long-term wide receiver one. This is obviously not great news for George Pickens because I think DK Metcalf is a little bit better at pretty much everything that George Pickens is good at. He's just a little bit better. It's almost like they got a George Pickens upgrade in DK, and they signed him to the long-term extension. So I don't know what this means for George Pickens long-term. I don't even know who's going to be playing quarterback for DK Metcalf, but I know that Jackson Smith-Njigba is not there anymore. A guy that we kind of saw take more targets than DK in Seattle. And I know that DK now is at least going to be a big part of this offense financially long term. So if you follow the money, it's probably going to follow the production. I think he's going to give us some wide receiver 2 numbers here in Pittsburgh. And I can just hope, I hope that it's probably going to be Aaron Rodgers throwing him the football. And if it's not Aaron Rodgers, at least let it be Russell Wilson again. Because Russell Wilson, when he worked with Cortland Sutton in Denver, who's kind of a big play guy, they had some good fantasy football production. So DK, who he does have familiarity with from his times there in Seattle, should have some more good fantasy football production there in Pittsburgh. So as long as it's Rodgers or Russell Wilson, I'm good. If it's anybody else, I don't really know what to do here. I guess there's been some links to maybe Jackson Dart in the first round and some other things. I don't know if I'd like it, but apparently with Jackson Dart, there's an Ole Miss connection with DK. I don't know. We could paint it 100 different ways. DK to me though, he was the clear-cut number 2 wide receiver in free agency that's moved, and I'm just going to secure him on my roster.
Yeah, I was going to say that, man. What if it's Jackson Dart? They got a couple problems. Now we talking about Jackson Dart as the QB. We talking about Pickens. Now, I see the little disregard you just showed George Pickens. I seen it. You say he's not JSN, but he's still a young, talented wide receiver that can take targets away from DK. So he still kind of got that problem. Now added on to the potential of a Jackson Dart or Dylan Gabriel. I don't know, like one of those, like one of those guys tossing him the rock. I mean, yeah, honestly, man, I think DK is a huge bust if anybody other than Aaron Rodgers is the quarterback. Like
you don't like the idea of Russell Wilson and him, reuniting there in Pittsburgh?
It's not the real Russell Wilson. That's not the Russell Wilson from Seattle.
That's a deep fake.
That's Russell Wilson because he's becoming decrepit. That is Russell Wilson. That's what he is, man. That's what he is. And, they need Aaron Rodgers, man. Imagine the sideline tantrums and the pouting if Aaron Rodgers isn't that team's quarterback. Oh, my God. DK is going to become a 6'5", 6'6", 200 and something pound, big-ass baby. That's what's going to happen if he's not getting his touches. He's going to wish that Geno Smith was out there tossing him the rock. But let's hope it's Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers, we'll talk more about him later. He's playing games. We'll see.
Yeah, Aaron's the best case scenario, and for all fairness, Pittsburgh is slowly starting to run out of options. We've seen other guys sign deals. It's now or never. I think maybe the only other thing that could save them is they lose out on everything and they just kick the can with Jameis Winston. That might be fantasy football glory, but who knows?
That will fantasy football glory. It won't be victory glory though.
Yeah, fantasy points only. No, probably no wins in the NFL. So what do you do here at 4?
At 4, man, I'm gonna take the newly highly paid Samuel Darnold, who got a 3-year, 100.5 point five. Don't forget the point five
Hey, that's an extra
million.
500,000.
Yeah, yeah, that's $5 contract to go over to the Seattle Seahawks to replace Geno Smith to play in the Pacific Northwest. We're gonna find out if this Sam Darnold is actually the one on the Jets or the one on the Vikings. I have my reservations about taking this pick. I'm telling you right now, I think they should actually ban Kevin O'Connell from the NFL because I actually think he's a performance enhancing drug. I actually think he's a performance enhancing drug. And, if Sam goes out there and he turns into a complete bum in Seattle, then we'll get the answer to the question that we've been asking since the beginning of this past season. Is it Sam improvement or is he getting the Kevin O'Connell boost? Because I'm telling you right now, if he turns into that Sam Darnold that was throwing picks, looking like he's seen Stinky, Casper, and Fatso out there, running from Ghost. I don't know, man. If that happens, then he's just in trouble. He's just in trouble, man. So we gonna find out a lot. But I gotta take him right here. I need a quarterback, and I'm just gonna roll the dice and hope that wasn't just a fluke. Fool's gold.
Yeah, I mean, you make a point, dude. I'm sitting here thinking about it as you're talking about it, and I'm like, okay, quarterbacks that have worked with Kevin O'Connell have went and got paid. Kirk Cousins got paid, and then Atlanta benched him before the end of the year was over. Sam Darnold got himself $100 million. Daniel Jones just stepped in the building for about 4 weeks, and he got himself a contract there in Indy to potentially compete for a starting job. Like, Nick Mullins got some money to go be a backup. These guys are getting money just for working with KOC, so I definitely see it. I agree with you in a little bit of a sense there where I'm a little nervous about Sam Darnold. I will say the places that I had Darnold, once he was no longer wearing this symbol on his jersey, I was selling. I'm out. I don't want the experience. I love you, Sam. Thank you for what you did last year. 14 wins. It was fun. I liked rooting for you. Hopefully you succeed in Seattle. That's all I can say about that one. Other than that, I'm glad we aren't necessarily the ones that paid you the $100 million. Did you see that Seattle also worked this contract to where they could basically get out of it after 1 year? If it doesn't work out in 20, it's smart.
Yeah,
it's smart.
they did. It's smart. It's smart. I mean, we're not talking about the Falcons. I mean, we're talking about Atlanta here. Like, of course, they gave themselves an out. Like, because that's what smart franchises do. They give themselves an out.
Yeah, so I think the fact that they are putting the contingencies of like we could get out of this after 1 year should kind of tell you the belief that is in that building is like he's better than what we thought we could get. Right now, especially considering the rookie draft class that we have in our draft, capital there in Seattle. He's probably our best choice in 2025, but if there's a rookie we like and Sam's not good next year and we have a bad record, we'll draft that franchise quarterback in 2026, no questions asked. I think that's the way Seattle's operating. But other than that, though, I think it probably is fine for guys like JSN. I don't think JSN's going to see a downtick, really. I mean, you see guys like DK and Lockett leave. I mean, the targets could go up. Obviously, he got another guy that came into the building we'll talk about in a little bit. But Darnold at times, he was laser focused, locked eyes, on his number one target in Justin Jefferson and just force fed him. And that's Justin Jefferson, but I think he could do the same thing with JSN. JSN is probably a player I'm not too worried about if Sam Darnold's in the building.
Yeah, no, somebody got to catch the ball.
Somebody got to do it. So, all right, well, at 5, I'm going to go to the quarterback position again because, like we said, it's scarce. Right now, only 3 guys that I think we can guarantee as week 1 starters that have signed contracts. So I'm going to go with Geno Smith. Look, Geno Smith, he was traded from Seattle for a 3rd-round pick to the Las Vegas Raiders. They're talking about a possible extension maybe for Geno, but it reunites him who worked with Pete Carroll before when they were in Seattle. He gets to now be the starting quarterback for the Raiders. At the end of the day, you got guys like Brock Bowers there. You got guys like Jacoby Myers. They probably need to be looking at a rookie wide receiver as well. Maybe they're a team that ends up going to pick up one of these other free agents like Stephon Diggs if they want to pay him some money. Amari Cooper, maybe reunite him and bring him back to Las Vegas. I don't know. They need some more receiving options, but at the end of the day, Geno Smith, to me, he's just the last. I think it's just the scarcity of the position is why I drafted him here. I think the fit's going to be fine. He's probably going to give us similar fantasy football numbers as he's given us in the past, although the weapons do worry me a little bit. Maybe he's more of like a mid to low end QB2, but just the scarcity of the position. I think I'm going to take Geno Smith here and just hope that I get some consistent QB2 production in my super flex spot, and I'll leave you to deal with all of the other question marks at the QB position in your super flex. Daniel Jones, Aaron Rodgers, Russell Wilson, you can deal with all those questions. I know what I got to deal with today. It's Geno Smith here in Las Vegas.
Bum. Absolute bum. Geno Smith. You can't spell no without Geno. That's what I feel. Is going to the Raiders. Pete Carroll is running a nepotism plant over there, hiring his son, bringing back all his old players. It's only a matter of time before Tyler Lockett rolls up in that piece.
The wide
No,
receiver they needed.
what they gonna do next? Marshawn Lynch, running backs coach. Like, what are they gonna do next? Yeah, man. Okay, honestly, here's what we're gonna get out of Geno. We're gonna get a worse version of the Geno in Seattle. And it's the worst version of Geno in Seattle that much better than a potential starting Daniel Jones or Russell Wilson or Aaron Rodgers? If he is, I buy much. So that's
Yeah,
what I
I
feel
mean,
about Geno. I
you
understand why
say
you took him here. He was the best
right.
quarterback available, but no.
Yeah, I mean, you say it like that when you want to paint the pictures and say best case scenario. I mean, if Russ is in Seattle, I'm taking Russ over Geno. I mean, if Russ is in Pittsburgh, I'm taking him over Geno. There's a whole bunch of things I could say, but like I said, we don't know. Those are what ifs right now. I mean,
Yeah.
there's a decent chance that some of these guys get left out. I mean, there's not enough starting spots for everybody to get a starting job, so there's a chance that somebody gets left out. I'm not gonna mess around with it. Geno, I think he can give me a year, maybe as the Raiders starter, maybe 2 years. I don't know. I still think that the Raiders should probably go and spend a first round pick on Shedeur Sanders or somebody like that and see if they can just get some competition in the quarterback room. But at the end of the day, too, Las Vegas has not necessarily been a place of good quarterback play for the last little while. It's just a lot of Derek Carrs and Jimmy G's and Gardner Minshew's and Aiden O'Connell's and Geno. It's just not been great. So, yeah.
They act like they do though. You know what? I'm gonna tell you exactly what the Raiders are gonna do. I'm gonna tell you exactly what they're gonna do. You can mark it, you can date it. The Raiders are gonna swing a trade for Joe Milton. That's what they're gonna do. They're
It
gonna
probably
get
would
Joe
be
Milton.
he'd probably be
Joe
the best
Milton
quarterback
is
in the building.
yeah, he's the perfect. I'm a Las Vegas Raider. He's the perfect Raider project to go in there. Heard they're trying to trade him anyway to give him a chance. I can see the Raiders doing it.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, the more I sit here and talk about Geno, the less and less I like the pick. So let's just move on to your number 6 and see what you do here.
At number 6, speaking of Raiders, I'm going to pick Davante Adams. Him and his 2-year, $46 million contract, going over there to team up with Matthew Stafford in sunny LA. That's what I'm going to do. You know why? Because I think Davante Adams is going to be a wide receiver one in both of those 2 years. I don't know why people have decided to abandon Davante Adams. The man, did he perform as good as he did? No, he didn't. But you know what? He still got it. He was with I don't know, what do we call Aaron Rodgers these days? Some type of carcass? I don't know. That's what he was with in New York. And he was in New York. And in New York, you automatically get your stats decreased by 15 to 20 points just putting on that jersey. So that's what I think happened. We're going to see a whole different side of Davante. We're going to see a confident Davante. We're going to see a Davante that knows he has a chance to be on the team that can actually win a game in the playoffs. Something he didn't have in Las Vegas, something he didn't have in New York. So I think that's what we're going to get. He's still a baller. He's still a playmaker, and he's going to show it over the next 2 years of that contract.
Yeah, I mean, I really like the fit for Davante Adams. If you were holding him on your dynasty roster up to this point, like this was honestly, it's probably about as good of a best case scenario as possible for Davante Adams to go slide into that Cooper Kupp role. I mean, we know how Matthew Stafford's at times kind of dials in and just feeds you targets at whoever it may be. He's done it with Kupp. He's done it with Puka. He'll probably do it with Adams too. There's going to be weeks where Adams, I think, has top 5 numbers next year. It's just going to be the way it is. This is a good offense. They're going to throw the football a lot. Sean McVay, we trust him. At the end of the day, I can't argue with this pick too much. I would say maybe from a dynasty lens, there are some other players here that I probably would draft over Adams, but I think you're right. When it comes down to actual production just this year and next year, maybe, you're probably not going to have many other guys who outscore Davante Adams. And this is going to be a player that I think when people start doing redrafts and we start talking about just like single season format, people are going to start really getting high on Davante Adams. And I would not be shocked to see him drafted in the top 15-ish wide receivers next year.
Me either. He's going to have a good season. I know it.
So, all right, I like that a lot. Let's go to, actually, you know what? I'm going to stay in LA for my 7th pick, but I'm going to go to the other team. I'm going to go to the Los Angeles Chargers. I'm going to take Najee Harris. I feel like when it came to free agent signings in this running back class, there really wasn't a lot of players that I was super confident in. It felt like Najee Harris probably had the best chance to get a starting gig and just kind of be the guy. But other than that, it felt like everybody else was kind of dart throws. And so far, the money, for the most part, has kind of followed that similar sentiment. Najee gets that 1 year, $9.25 million deal. It's kind of a prove it deal, but at $10 million almost, it feels like there's a little bit more weight to it. There is some incentive base to it, so we'll see how that goes. But Los Angeles has been one of the premier running back destination landing spots that people have been clamoring over all offseason long. Everybody's wanted a first-round rookie to go there. I don't necessarily believe that they will be spending a first-round pick on a rookie anymore now that Najee Harris has been brought into the building. Can they still go get him some competition? Probably. Should they still go get some competition? Probably. They're going to get some backs to back him up, but we know that Jim Harbaugh, Greg Roman, they like that physical, dirty runner that can kind of do it all. Najee Harris can, he's good out of the backfield receiving. He's a dirty, grimy type of runner. He's physical. He's going to be fine here in LA, and I think that this offensive line is an upgrade to what he had in Pittsburgh. He was Mr. Consistency in Pittsburgh, whether you liked him or not. It was 17 games played every year for 1,000+ yards. He's probably going to do the same thing, maybe a little bit better here. If J.K. Dobbins saw a resurgence, I think Najee Harris is a better running back at this point in his career. Najee Harris, I would not be surprised if we were seeing high-end running back 2 numbers for the majority of next season.
Yeah, man, I don't know, man. Najee taking pictures looking like he went on the reverse fast, eating food fast, eating hamburgers, having too much chicken and waffles and fat burgers out there in LA. I don't know who could help him. Greg Roman, Roman Harper, Roman Reigns. I don't know. Some type of Roman to help him. I don't know, man. But one thing I do know is that they like to run the ball out there. If those pictures if it was photoshopped or whatever, if he was just in off-season mode, get that tuned up, we could see a nice season by Najee. See, here's the thing about Najee. He's nothing special. And I say that as just a unathletic, kind of, I'm kind of athletic, but not athletic enough because I'm out of shape, Najee. But I say that to say this, that Najee, he's a guy that's going to be 1,000 yards, 1,000 yards, 1,000 yards. Like, that's what you're going to get. You know what you're getting out of Najee. Do I expect him to all of a sudden just start getting 1,500 yard seasons now that he's on the chart? No, I don't. But I do expect him to at least maintain that same level of consistency that he's always maintained. 1,000 yards in NFL now, it's nothing. It used to be something special. Now it's not. So if you're getting Najee expecting to still get the same amount, yes, but I wouldn't get our hopes up too high thinking he's going to all of a sudden become Saquon Barkley.
Yeah, no, I don't think he's going to be like Saquon Barkley, but I think that this is a player who, in a way, a guy that I called my shot on last year where I said, Joe Mixon leaving Cincinnati and going to play in Houston, and I really liked Joe Mixon in the draft process there.
Yeah.
I feel like this is similar with Najee, assuming that they don't add, a crazy talented back. If it's just him and like a day 3 guy and maybe a veteran that they bring in as a running back backup, I think that he could go out there and give us Joe Mixon-esque numbers that we were seeing last year. And Joe Mixon was a guy that you definitely wanted on your fantasy football team. I think Najee could be kind of the same way.
Well, Joe Mixon was your son, so of course you said that about Joe Mixon. I mean, come on. Here's my question.
Underappreciated from fantasy football purposes, far too much, I think, in his career. But off the field stuff, I don't condone none of that man's behaviors. But he produces fantasy points is what he does.
Here's my question. Do you think that there's a chance that the Chargers, we know they released Gus Edwards, right? They released him outright. So I think there's a 0% chance he's returning to the Chargers. Dobbins, however, contract is he's just a free agent. So, I mean, do you think it's a possibility that they'll just bring back Dobbins and have him run with Najee? Because I don't see them adding a highly talented back like through the draft or anything to back up Najee. Najee's 26 years old. I don't see them doing that after they gave him the contract. But I could see them bringing back Dobbins because I don't think teams are going to be knocking down the door to sign J.K. J.K. Dobbins.
Yeah, I could definitely see that happening. And if that happens, obviously, my excitement level for Najee comes down a little bit because I think it's going to be split too much. There's still a lot to figure out, but I agree with you. I think that there's definitely a couple bullets that he still needs to dodge. But other than that, like if he gets through fairly clean, he should have some upside here in LA. But what about 8, man? What are we doing at 8?
At 8, I'm going to take a guy that I think is just about as big of a risk as Najee to take, and he's overpaid. I'm going to take Chris Godwin, 3 years, $66 million to return to Tampa Bay. Could have got probably $80 million, $90 million, whatever, to go to New England, but
Yeah.
I don't know what he was thinking exactly. He wanted to go back and be Mike Evans' sidekick with Baker when he could have went to go be the man in New England with Drake May, an ascending young quarterback. He must really like the weather. I mean, that's the only thing I could really think of. To go to well, that's not the only thing. So let's be real here. The New England Patriots were horrible last year. I mean, I'm pretty sure that was at the top of mind when he didn't want to go there. But,
Yeah.
man, I would have liked to have seen what he could have done in the wide receiver 1 role, just being the number 1 for Drake May. But he didn't. He returned back. He should still be very productive when healthy. But there's something he needs to think about. There's something he needs to think about called Jaylen McMillan. So, I mean, he's taking a risk. He's taking a risk going back there, man, because while I think initially he's going to be considered a second option out there, I do think that Jaylen McMillan has done enough to cut into some of his role in Tampa Bay. So we'll see what happens. We'll see if he ends up regretting not being a number 1 in New England. But yeah, man, he got his contract. Probably was being super loyal there. He had a big injury. We'll see, but he is overpaid.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think you're right. It comes down to winning probably, and it comes down to weather and location and stuff like that. Like, you got to think about it too from a perspective of like when these guys sign, they got to uproot their families, go move somewhere else and do all that stuff. Like, there's a lot that goes into it, but hey, that's a lot of money he left on the table. You know, an extra 20 M's, that's a lot of money that you left on the table. And at this point in your career, Godwin, it's probably one of the final big paydays that you probably get. There's probably not going to be too many other opportunities where teams are coming at you offering you $90 to $100 million. At the end of the day, though, it works for Godwin in Tampa Bay. It's worked fantasy football wise. It's worked in the NFL. I think this is fine for him. There is risk with him coming off the injury. I think that there's definitely potentially a chance that we see a decrease in the production, at least in 2025. Does that open the door for Jaylen McMillan? Definitely could. I think it more so really dampens that excitement that you had for Jaylen McMillan because there was a clear path to at least wide receiver 2. Now there's not. It's not as clear. He can still maybe do it, but it's risky. It feels more so now kind of how like you had DK and Lockett and we wanted Lockett to go so JSN could enter, and JSN was so good that he actually did it without that. That's what's gonna have to be happening with Jaylen McMillan. He's gonna have to be so good that he can overtake them without them leaving. So we'll see what happens, man.
And good.
You said what?
I said, unfortunately, I don't think he's JSN level of good.
I don't think so either. I think it's clear the sell window of Jaylen McMillan has slammed shut. It is closed.
Andrew, he's going to be in the locker room with 2 voodoo dolls, Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, poking needles at their knees, hoping that he gets his opportunity.
Well, he might get a chance eventually. I mean, you're in the NFL, you'll always get a chance eventually. So we'll see what happens. But I don't mind the Godwin pick. He was probably the best wide receiver available. But I'm going to move on over to, what am I, ninth pick now? Yeah, I'm going to go to the tight end position. And I'm going to take the best tight end I think available in free agency. I'm going to go Evan Engram, who ends up signing a 2-year, $23 million deal to be Sean Payton's Joker tight end. Now, we've talked about all offseason, at least Sean Payton has talked about how he wants to find his Joker. We've also talked about how Denver kind of has this lack of weapons for Bo Nix. It was just Cortland Sutton and then a mixed match of guys like Marvin Mims and Troy Franklin and Devon Vele and all of these other guys that are fine, but they're not great options for a rookie quarterback. That being said, Evan Engram, I think he's going to be incredible in this offense. I think there's a chance he could see 100 plus targets. we're talking about veterans like Davante Adams, who are very old for dynasty purposes. I put that in quotations, old for dynasty purposes, but they have the chance to go out and give you huge 2025 seasons off of like one last kind of last dance type of production. I think Evan Engram can do that this year. I would not be surprised. I really would not be surprised if at the end of the year, if you told me Evan Engram was a top 5 tight end, I'd say, yeah, that probably makes sense. Probably makes sense with him there in Denver with Bo Nix and Sean Payton. So I'm going to take Evan Engram. I think he's the only tight end in the player pool that's a difference maker. So yeah, give me him for the Denver Broncos.
I agree. He is the only tight end in the players pool that makes a difference. I never liked the guy though. That's the thing. Never liked him. He's in Denver.
This is a guy who was the tight end 2 in 2023.
But you know how I am, Andrew, man. You burned me a few times. I'm still hating on him for how he burnt me when he was with the New York Giants. So
okay, all right, you're petty. That's fine.
Yeah, personal vendetta. Vendetta. I think he has a chance to be productive in Denver, but this Bo Nix thing, man, this thing could get ugly. Like Bo Nix did a very good job last season, but piss me. I couldn't go one video without pissing off the listeners, could I?
Probably not. I was waiting for you to talk about how you don't trust Bo Nix.
It's going to actually be worse than that. Bo Nix and Jaylen Daniels. Here's the thing, man. You're anointing these guys after one season. Bo Nix, me and Andrew laughed. We laughed at the top of our voice when some other YouTuber made a video and said that Bo Nix is going to be like the first or second best quarterback. We laughed. And what did he do? He went out and he was like the second quarterback.
Let's give more context to that because you're making us sound like some assholes. But this specific video said that the Bears should draft Bo Nix #1 overall over Caleb Williams and Jayden Daniels. And they said he should be the #1 pick and drafted #1.
They did say that.
That's why you and I laughed, because you as a Bears fan could not fathom spending the #1 pick on Bo Nix. That's why we laughed. So let's just set that record straight.
Okay. That is how it occurred. Yeah, I could concur that that's what happened.
All right, carry on.
Here's the thing, man. Bo Nix, going into it, I did not think Bo Nix was going to perform the way he performed last season. So now I'm expected to believe that Bo Nix, who already exceeded my expectations, is going to further exceed my expectations. And I know that's how development works. But the point is that I think we've already seen peak Bo Nix. We've seen peak Bo Nix.
I'm going to play devil's advocate, though. What if Bo Nix stays the same? Can he not support Courtland Sutton and Evan Engram?
I don't know if Bo Nix has the talent to support 2 receivers.
I think we saw enough. I think we saw enough production out of him last year that he can definitely support 2 guys.
Maybe. We'll see. Because I think Troy Franklin would disagree. Marvin Mims, he was solid, but Courtland Sutton had a pretty decent season. We'll see, man. You know what? Honestly, the best friend of a young quarterback is a tight end. So them adding Evan Engram can't do much harm to Bo Nix. I worry more so about how much I don't think we're going to see the Evan Engram that was the #2 tight end on the Broncos. I just don't see it, man. Fair. I don't see it.
I mean, let's just be real here, though. Would you rather have Evan Engram alongside BTJ and all them other guys like he was last year? Or would you rather have Evan Engram against Courtland Sutton and that's it?
I don't know who all them other guys is you talking about. You could have stopped after you said BTJ.
Christian Kirk. You know them guys. You know the guys. Christian Kirk, Travis Etienne, all them guys. You know them. Brenton Strange,
all the rest of those guys fell off. But
Brenton Strange is sneaky winner, I think, in free agency. Whatever.
Brenton Strange. I'm starting to think he's another one of your sons. I do think I do agree with you though. I would rather have Evan Engram next to Courtland Sutton, who he could kind of supplant, versus him next to a rising star like BTJ. I'll give you that. But like I said, hopefully Bo Nix can continue his level of support. But once again, let's not anoint these young guys. CJ Stroud does exist.
Well, I'll tell you what. I like the fact that Evan Engram, as soon as the signing happened, and he posted a picture of Joker hanging out the window because he's Sean Payton's new Joker. I'm trusting this. I'm down with the narrative. I'm buying in. At cost, Evan Engram, I love the value. I tried to shoot out a couple offers for him in some dynasty leagues where I could potentially get him, but I think people are a little bit nervous to sell right now until they figure out where his market value is. Let's go to 10 though. This is kind of the halfway point in the draft. We have 18 rounds. Let's go to 10. What are you doing here?
At 10, I'm going to pick the most disrespected person in the 2025 offseason. Mr. Revenge Tour himself, Andrew's doppelganger, Cooper Kupp. 3 years, $45 million. $45 million to go back home. Let me tell you who Cooper Kupp is. Y'all better start respecting Cooper Kupp. You know what Cooper Kupp is, man? Cooper Kupp is the man. Cooper Kupp crossed over and embarrassed Zach LaVine on a basketball court. That's how legendary Cooper Kupp is in the state of Washington. You better ask somebody. Cooper Kupp ain't playing around, man. Now, do I think Cooper Kupp got 3 years left in him? No, I don't think Cooper Kupp got 3 years left in him. I think maybe he got one, maybe 1.5, but I don't think he got 3. And especially if, oh my God, if Sam Darnold choked, oh my God, Cooper Kupp is going to look like Carolina Adam Thielen, which as far as age, you can respect Carolina Adam Thielen, but not for 3 years, $45 million. You can't respect Carolina Adam Thielen if Cooper Kupp is forming like him. I think everything hinges on whether or not Sam Darnold is Sam Darnold. Cooper Kupp being JSN's sidekick is kind of similar to him being Puka Nakua's sidekick, but the problem is that Matthew Stafford is not in Seattle. Sam Darnold is. So we're going to have to see performance-enhanced Sam Darnold out there slinging a rock to Cooper Kupp and JSN. Cooper Kupp doing Cooper Kupp things. Yes, he's not as fast as he used to be, but he's a little bit wiser, goddammit. So we need to make sure that we respect him. And if you don't want to respect him because of his talents, respect him because he's Andrew's doppelganger.
Yeah. Fair enough. I think for me, the fit at first felt a little bit odd because JSN last year worked a majority of his production through the slot, and Cooper Kupp works a majority of his production through the slot. So it's kind of weird, a weird fit initially for me. However, the more that I've looked into it and the more that I've kind of seen about some of this usage and success rates of Jackson Smith, I think Jackson can play outside fine if he's going to be needed to. So I think it still can work from a scheme standpoint. There's just probably no way you can cut this where Cooper Kupp is going to be playing on the outside for the majority of his career, especially, or for the rest of his career, especially now at his current age. I think the big question for me is going to come into, has Cooper Kupp lost a step, and is Sam Darnold in this offense going to be efficient? And I think I tend to lean a little bit more towards to the side where they probably will not be as efficient. And yes, Cooper Kupp has probably lost a step. This is a player that I have tried moving as soon as I got some of that news. I've been waiting for the news. This money, $45 million, 3 years, it's more than I initially had thought that this was going to be in the range of outcomes for Kupp. I'm kind of shocked to see a team willing to give him this amount of money. I know you sat here and talked about respect for 5 minutes, but maybe I'm being disrespectful. But at the end of the day, I do not believe in Cooper Kupp that much as a high-end fantasy football producer for us anymore. And in fact, the more you look at it, outside of the Triple Crown year, he really hasn't been a high-end producer for us really outside of that year. It's been injury prone, it's been injury plagued, and there's been a lot of stuff that I think haven't necessarily added up. Can he give you spike weeks and spurts where he's great? Probably. I think there's a reason why you're taking him 10th out of a free agent pool of players, though, and he's probably coming off the board here as our wide receiver 7. I think that probably makes sense to me, and that's probably all I got to say about that.
How dare you? How dare you? How dare you go on that tirade to Cooper Kupp after all of the memories that he's given Rams fans? After all these years, you're just like, who owns the Rams? Sam Kroenke? Is that who owns the Rams? Sam Kroenke or something? I don't know what the hell his name is. He don't respect him. You don't respect. But you know what, Cooper? I respect you. I think you're going to go to Seattle. I think you're going to be good. You're going to do what you used to do. Let's not even fantasize about you doing that. But we're going to do some things that are nice. You're going to help fantasy players to a perfect little wide receiver 2 season. That's what you're going to do.
Well,
and we're going to like it. We're going to like it.
I would love to see you come put your money where your mouth is. I have him in Tea Party. If you are open to hitting my trade inbox, I'm more than happy to see you put your money where your mouth is. I'm going to move on to 11, though. I'm going to move on to 11, though. And I'm going to take a guy. You were talking about somebody, putting on some extra weight in the offseason. I'm just drafting all of them, I guess. I'm going Deebo Samuel of the Washington Commanders. Look, not a great year last year for Deebo, but he was traded to the Commanders this offseason for a 5th-round pick. Not necessarily a haul to be happy about, but he does get to go over here and play alongside Terry McLaurin and be with Jayden Daniels and kind of beef up this Washington Commanders offense where they can try and push in and utilize that rookie contract a little bit for Jayden Daniels. Overall, when I'm looking at this pick, I think he's going to be a fine fit. I don't think Deebo Samuel is the player that he was before. Talking about guys like Cooper Kupp, who I don't think he's the player he was before. I don't think Deebo is the same guy as he was before. Is there a chance that he still goes out and gives you some production? I think so. I will say, based off of these two players, I'm more confident in Cooper Kupp these days than I am Deebo Samuel. I think Deebo Samuel is more so the spike weeks are probably going to be the wide receiver 2 weeks for the most part. I think Terry McLaurin is the number 1 target getter there. I think Zach Ertz probably gets ahead of him in the pecking order. And I think that Jayden Daniels probably runs the football a little bit, maybe get a running back upgrade and things like that. Overall, Deebo Samuel to me, I'm picking him because I need the wide receiver. I needed the wide receiver 2 on my team. He's definitely a better option to me than some of the other guys we've talked about. But yeah, I'm not super in love with Deebo Samuel as a player these days, but the fit in Washington is fine for now.
I like the fit. I like Deebo Samuel. Pulling a couple pounds, fine. His name's Deebo. He could get away with it. So I mean, let's. They need to add as many good players to that team as possible to protect them for the inevitable Jayden Daniels slide, the step back. It's gonna happen. You don't look like that. That's just gonna happen.
I feel like you got a personal beef with Jayden these days.
I don't got a personal beef with Jayden. I'm just a student of history. And I seen what just happened to CJ Stroud. We got people talking about Jayden Daniels winning an MVP this upcoming season. And I think we need a reality check. He's a young guy. And just like I think CJ Stroud is going to be fine and going to take a step forward, Jayden Daniels could take a step back and still be fine, can take a step forward later. Let's just stop anointing them. But that's all I'm saying is all in all is that they need good players around him. Don't just go assuming that, he could carry this team. Because I'm telling you, last year he carried that team. He carried those guys. And you could get away with a magical season where Olamide Zacchaeus and Noah Brown or whoever is out there with Terry McLaurin. And they smartly, because Magic Johnson is a smart owner, smartly, they're like, nah, let's not depend on Olamide Zacchaeus and Noah Brown. Let's get somebody else in here. And I hope they also draft another wide receiver too. Put as many weapons as possible around Jayden Daniels so Jayden Daniels doesn't have to be magical next season, because I'm sorry, the likelihood of him, if Jayden Daniels is as good next season as he was this season, you might as well just call him the next Patrick Mahomes. And I think the likelihood of that happening is close to 0. And that's why I'm like, get him even more support so he doesn't have to carry the damn team this season. So I like the Deebo Samuel signing because of that primarily.
Yeah, I mean, I trust Kingsbury as a play caller. I think Kingsbury is going to utilize some of Deebo. My only worry about Deebo is how much is left in the tank. At this point of his career, I feel like we've seen him, unfortunately, due to Kyle Shanahan's usage, which at the time it translated to a ton of fantasy football points. The rushing usage and the receiving work. It looks like, at least to me, outside looking in, it looks like it's taken a toll on Deebo's body, and I think taking a toll on the production. And that's why I say I'm worried about how much is left in the tank. But if you're needing a vet for an affordable price, he's probably fine right now.
You know what? I'll make this quick point. That's why I think the smartest thing for the Commanders to do, honestly, is to draft a receiver. Like, I'm serious. Like, even if it's in the first round, I don't know if they got a first round pick, but if they do,
I think
draft a receiver.
They should.
Draft a receiver, because wouldn't you be a lot more comfortable with Deebo Samuel being the second option in the backfield and the third option as a wide receiver? I would be a lot more comfortable with that than thinking Deebo is going to be my wide receiver too at this point in his career. I think it'll be nice to use him as like a tool in the backfield and as like a third receiver, and just get a young guy in there to be the current and future second wide receiver for that team. Just surround Jayden Daniels with weapons, and so he doesn't have to do all the work this season.
I definitely get wanting to get the young guy in to maybe be the guy for the future. I still think a vet like Stephon Diggs, who is from Maryland, could make sense going to the Commanders and having like Deebo, Diggs, and Terry be your 3 wide receivers that you roll out.
Andrew, though,
It's
man,
old, but
Deebo in the same like both of those guys are kind of
head
complainers.
cases.
Yeah, like Stephon Diggs, he'll sleep with your sister, and then he'll complain he's not getting touches, and Deebo will sit there and complain and go on the podcast and talk about it. That's what. Like that might
Well,
actually take that team down. In fact, I hope that happens so they could beat that team could get taken down. So
all right. I'm not gonna let you sit here and talk about Jaden Daniels and that team anymore. So I'm gonna take you. I'm gonna take you to number 12, and I'm gonna have you talk about your son because you drafted your son here. You're talking about sons. You drafted one. Who is it?
stepson. He ain't my son no more. He not good enough to be my son. I'm taking Javonte Williams at 12. 1 year, $3 million. Javonte, you couldn't even get more money than that. Come on, Javonte. What happened? What happened? I supported you through your injuries. I supported you through being trash. What happened, Javonte? But you know what? You're going to a team that just refuses to go after a legitimate running back. Good for you. Like, they refuse to do it. They're not, I'm telling you right now, not only have I read reports, but I just personally think they're not going to draft the running back. They're not going to do it. They're not going to do it. The Cowboys are the NFL's versions of the current Chicago Bulls, where it's like the obvious thing to do is what they don't do. Oh, okay. Sign CD Lamb to a contract. We're gonna wait. Oh, sign Michael Parsons to a contract. We're going to wait or not do it. I don't know. Get really good players. The Cowboys are just an inept friend. I'm sorry. I know it's a lot of you fans out there. I'm sorry. Sorry you guys love the friend. And I know, oh, yeah, you got a lot of nerve. You're a Bears fan. You're talking. I'm sorry, man. Your Cowboys are an inept franchise. You signed Javonte. That's good for him. He might as well be prepared to be the lead running back because they're not going to get another one, even though they should. This will be a great opportunity for Javonte. He can go out there. He needs to win that job. If Javonte does not win that job, he's out of the wheel. He's no longer my stepson. Done. Kicked out. He's on the curb.
Putting that man up for adoption.
He needs to win that job because he needs to go out there and do so good that they extend him, something that they don't do for anybody. Extend him because I don't see them draft. Like right now, to me, it's his job to lose, and this is going to be the best opportunity he's going to get. That if he can't seize this opportunity, he might as well be prepared to be a backup running back for the remainder of what will be a short career because he's a running back.
I believe that this is going to be a 3-headed committee kind of approach next season. Unfortunately, I still think that they will use like a day 2 or day 3 pick on a running back, whether that be a 3rd round or like a 5th round. I don't know the difference in that in this year's draft. Who knows what the difference is between a 3rd and a 5th round pick, depending on the guys there. But I think they could bring a young guy in, and they brought in Miles Sanders, and at this point in their career, like Miles Sanders and Javonte, what are they? Probably trash, but I feel like they're kind of the same guy at this point. Does that seem crazy to say that Javonte and Miles Sanders are kind of the same?
Yeah, that's kind of okay. Let's hold on now. You're talking about my stepson here. Okay, look, Miles Sanders. Miles Sanders. You have hatred for Miles Sanders because how he disrespected you a couple seasons ago.
He did me dirty,
saying that he was gonna be, and then he turned around and he was like he turned around and he was complete trash. Then he had a season last season where he was just like non-existent. Couldn't take the job from Chuba Hubbard. Couldn't take the job from the other kid that didn't even play. That's how bad he was. Yeah,
talking
man.
About Raheem Blackshear or whatever his name is.
See, look, that's even worse. I'm not even talking about. I'm talking about the other guy that everybody was drafted number 1 in the draft, and he's probably not going to do anything.
Jonathan Brooks.
Yeah. And now Miles Sanders is on the Cowboys, man. I would not accept him and Javonte Williams on the same level. Miles Sanders is lucky he even got a contract.
I mean, the money might be close. We don't have the official money from Miles, but it might be close. I mean, $3 million ain't a lot. The point of it is whoever the rookie running back is in the 3rd round, 4th round, 5th round, 6th round, 7th round, doesn't matter what round, undrafted free agent. I'm taking my shot on them over these guys in this backfield. So
I hate to agree. I agree with that.
It's just, I don't know. I loved Javonte Williams as a prospect. The injuries, it's been too much up to this point. Hopefully he gets it back together. I'd love to see him get it back together. That would be dope. But
I love if
probability.
They take like LaQuint Allen or something, just be like, put him out there, win somebody a fantasy league because somebody just picked up a random running back. Well, I mean, they won't get past you. You won't get past you, obviously. You'll dig him from out of it. But yeah, man. Yeah, somebody might put Javonte out on the curb like yesterday's trash.
I'm not super excited about him. You know what though? I am a little bit excited about this guy, and I'm gonna go at 13. I'm gonna take Aaron Jones. Best case scenario by far for Aaron Jones was to re-sign with Minnesota. This is a team that has upgraded their interior offensive line. We're talking about loading up this offense. They also brought in Jordan Mason, who I think doesn't help Aaron Jones, but he's going to complement him from a fantasy perspective. But Jones, I still think has some juice. He showed it last year. He had 1,500 all-purpose yards last year as the Vikings starter. He played in 17 games. He's probably not going to do that this year, but if you're looking for a veteran running back that can still give you running back 2 numbers on a good offense that's going to score a lot of touchdowns and is a well-ran organization right now offensively, they score a lot of fantasy points. I think Aaron Jones is about as good as it gets. I would have took Aaron Jones over Javonte Williams easily. I think you just had you felt like you had to because he was your son at one point, but Aaron Jones to me was a better pick at the running back position, so I'm going to take him at 13.
Javonte is still young. He still got some growing to do. Got to eat his vegetables and drink his milk. But
him and Aaron might have the same shelf life left in their careers.
It's possible. It's possible. The thing that you did not mention, however, is that ain't even Aaron Jones' job. That ain't his job no more. Ain't Aaron Jones' job. Aaron Jones a backup. He's a backup, so you better back up. Because Jordan Mason is there to take that job. Not JM, okay? He's here to take the job. Your airness. Jordan Mason is coming in.
I love Jordan Mason. I'm cutting you off because I can't let this go on. I love the Jordan Mason signing. I think this is going to be a great 1-2 punch. Follow the money. They gave Jordan Mason 2-year $12 million after sending a 6th round pick. Mm-hmm. They gave Aaron Jones 2-year $20 million. They're giving more money to Aaron Jones than they are Jordan Mason. Now, maybe that comes with name pedigree, sure, but I think that Aaron Jones is the 1A, Jordan Mason is the 1B. I think this is a 2-headed committee, but Aaron Jones should have a lot of PPR appeal, some pass catching upside. He's definitely a good 3rd down back in this offense, which we know that those PPR guys and the 3rd down guys, they tend to give us some more fantasy football production because of the pass catching. That reception, the 1 reception, even if it's for 0 yards, it accounts for the 10-yard run that Jordan Mason might give you.
You know why he got 2 years, $10 million?
Why?
Lifetime Achievement Award. That's what that was. Lifetime Achievement Award. He didn't deserve 2 years, $20 million. He didn't deserve $10 million a year. That's Jordan Mason's job. You know, remember what you said about Javonte? Whoever the Cowboys draft, you would have picked them up. You're going to pick them up and, put them. You know what? I implore you all to go out, run out and get Jordan Mason as fast as you can, because what's going to happen is the Bears are going to play the Vikings. They're going to play them. It's going to be cold outside. The wind's going to be blowing. It's going to be snowing. Pop! Aaron Jones hit right in the gut. His little stupid glasses are going to fly off. That's what's going to happen. He's going to be snowboarding for real because he's going to be sliding across the field after he gets sacked and knocked back by Grady Jarrett. That's what's going to happen. Okay.
Why did Aaron have the sunglasses on when he was playing football? Why did he have them on?
He wanted to switch it up this time. He thought it was going to provide him some extra protection. And
the sombrero popped off.
Yeah, it all popped off. And Jordan Mason is going to come into the game, and he's going to break a 50-yard run, and the Bears are going to lose. That's what's going to happen, okay?
Damn.
And you know what?
Look,
I could have sworn Jordan Mason ran all over the Bears last season. I don't know. That's probably why he got signed if that did happen or whatever. No, he was injured that week. But still.
I think the duo is going to be great. I think the duo is going to be great. It's definitely – I love everything that Minnesota's been doing this offseason. I don't want to get too much into a Minnesota spiel, but I love everything they've been doing. As a fan, honestly, I'd like to see him just throw another day 3 pick at a running back and just get another guy. Just throw another guy into this backfield and let's just see what happens. But for fantasy football, you don't love that. Scatterbo in this backfield would be kind of crazy with Aaron Jones and Jordan Mason. That would be kind of crazy. But anyways, yeah, I think Aaron Jones is a fine running back pick here. I mean, the other options that we were kind of looking at would have been like teammate Jordan Mason, Rico Dowdle, Jaylen Warren, some of these other guys. But take us to 14 because I might have blown your pick, but you took one of those guys.
Yeah, I did. And you know what? I don't know how I feel about it. Honestly, I could have took him over Javonte. Javonte would have still been here. It's just... Jaylen Warren. That's what I'm talking about, guys. Jaylen Warren, restricted free agent, 2nd round tender worth $5.3 million. What are we doing with Jaylen? Okay, first of all, let's look at Jaylen Warren. He's kind of just a guy, man. He's just a guy. Cool guy. He's just Jaylen. He's just Jaylen. And that's just the type of person that will get a running back drafted and replaced him. And he'll go back to being in his common role. And that's what we're depending on here. Let's have you be exactly what you were last season at worst. You do agree that that's the floor for Jaylen Warren, right? That another running back gets drafted. Jaylen Warren's the backup. He produces the same amount they do because whoever they draft is going to come in and be Najee. I don't think.
Yeah, I mean, it depends. I think there's a lot that should be considered here. One, there's a lot of dominoes for Pittsburgh. What happens at QB? If they don't land Rodgers and they don't get Wilson back and they do actually entertain a Jackson Dart in the first round or something like that, then they traded their second round pick for DK Metcalf, and the next pick available that they could use on a running back would be in the third round. So there's a lot of missing pieces. I think if Rodgers comes, maybe they use that first round pick on a running back, and then obviously you don't love Jaylen Warren as the complementary piece or the backup piece to like an Amarion Hampton. You probably don't love that. But the path is I can at least see a path with Jaylen Warren. And although I agree with you that he's kind of just a guy, I don't mind just getting a guy that can give me some opportunities in 2025. So I think if the window is open right now for you to sell him high, I'm doing it if there's Jaylen Warren truthers, because trust me, there was a lot of them just a year ago. Everybody was clamoring about how Jaylen Warren was going to take Najee Harris and bench Najee Harris because he was that much better than Najee Harris. It never happened. And people were saying that was going to happen. If those people are like, well, Najee's out of town and it's Jaylen Warren and nobody else, if they still believe, I'm selling. But there's still way too many dominoes, I think, that need to fall for us to even have a clear path to see what can happen with Pittsburgh's running back room.
Yeah, I mean, I could see it. There was a lot of people riding high on Jaylen Warren before last season. I feel like Jaylen, he's one of those guys that doesn't do anything particularly special. But you know who else I felt that about? Matt Forte, and he was damn good, a fantasy football stud. I honestly, and I'm sorry, Bears fans, if you're hearing this, I thought Matt Forte was just, a decent running back. Like he wasn't the fastest, he wasn't the strongest, he got receptions, he wasn't the best receiver. And if Jaylen Warren could be that type of guy, Pittsburgh will let him be the running back until he can no longer be the running back. But he's going to have to fight off some draft pick. There are way too many good running backs in this draft for Pittsburgh to not take one. I'm sorry, Jaylen Warren, and I know I'm the one who drafted him. Now I'm down on him. But he's not that good to where you say I'm set at running back. That's not who he is. He's going to have to win the running back job. But I think he has a chance to do that. It's a second round tender on him, so they care about him to some capacity. So I mean, I think we'll roll with that. He got more money in free agents. He got more money on his tender than Javonte got in the contract. So
yeah, which is funny because Jordan Mason also got that second round tender as a restricted free agent, and then they shipped him off for a sixth. So it didn't really make sense why they did that, but whatever. I guess they got a sixth out of him rather than just letting him test the open market, because he probably would have just signed with Minnesota at that point. But I'm going to move on to 15. We got a couple more picks to get through here, and we are pretty much at that hour mark. I'm going to go Christian Kirk, wide receiver for the Houston Texans, was going to be released from the Houston Texans, but Jacksonville got word of it. And this happened last year with Joe Mixon. Remember, Cincinnati was going to release Joe Mixon, and then Houston caught word of it, and they were like, I'll give you a 7th round pick, and made that deal. Well, that happened with Christian Kirk. They gave a 7th round pick for Christian Kirk. So I guess Houston, they got their sleeper notifications on, and once somebody's about to be released, they just offer the bare minimum just to get them for cheap. So they got Christian Kirk. I think this is a fine fit for Christian Kirk. He restructured his contract. We're talking about a team here in Houston who needs another wide receiver option opposite Nico Collins. Stephon Diggs is a free agent. He's not there. Tank Dell, his knee was blown to shreds, unfortunately. But look, there's really nobody else out there right now, and I think Christian Kirk could be a really good slot wide receiver for CJ Stroud in this offense, and I think he's very sneaky at the moment as far as value goes. Are you going to get like high-end Christian Kirk numbers that we got that one year in Jacksonville? Probably not, but at the end of the day, like when I'm looking for a guy that I need to plug into my flex, which is where I'm drafting Christian Kirk here, I think Christian Kirk can give us those flex weeks type of numbers, and I'll just take him here as my wide receiver 3, and I'm putting him as my flex spot.
Here's my question. Who's going to protect CJ Stroud so he can get the ball to Christian Kirk? Who?
Well, here's my answer.
The lineman that he got from your team? No.
And actually, that draft pick that we got for trading Ed Engram is what we used to buy Jordan Mason. So we basically just swapped Ed Engram for Jordan Mason. But yeah, I mean, his offensive line looks horrendous. My only counter argument for this would be, it was really bad last year. It's probably going to be more of the same, but at least Christian Kirk plays close to the line of scrimmage. So if you need to get it out quick, at least Christian Kirk will be there, hopefully. So that's my only argument that I'll make. Other than that, I have nothing good to say about the Houston Texans offensive line at the moment.
I don't either, man. Honestly, man, I wish Christian Kirk the best of luck. He's going to need to be a Christian in order to survive this.
Fair enough. Let's go to 16. Who you got at 16?
16, I'm taking Mike Gesicki. Why? Not because he has a 3-year, $25.5 million contract, but because I wrote him off for dead like 2 years ago, and he's still
I was
here.
just going to bring up the grave comment that you made 2 years ago.
Yeah, he's still here, man. He could be a zombie. I don't know. I wrote the man off for dead. He's still here doing the worst gritty that could ever be done. And I'm taking him because just like T. Higgins, he's attached to Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow is nice. And that's why I took Mike Gesicki. There's nothing special about him. He got the gritty, he got the zombie thing going on, but he's Mike Gesicki. He's gonna be a solid tight end 2 level tight end, not a guy that you want to start at tight end for your team, but if you have to, he'll be there. He's Mr. kind of sort of reliable. He has a decent looking contract. Mike Gesicki, ladies and gentlemen, Mike Gesicki.
I cannot remember who you buried next to Mike, but somebody else got buried. Who got buried next to Mike Gesicki?
Probably freaking, I don't know.
I can't remember. You buried somebody else next to Mike Gesicki. I can't remember who it is. People who've been around, if you have been around long enough to know what we're referencing, put it in the comments down below because you're one of like the OGs, because I was like way, way, way back, like when we first started this. But yeah, look, the only thing I'll say about this is we're drafting tight ends, and your only other choice was like Zach Ertz and Juwan Johnson, who both also returned to their teams. So I'll take Gesicki, who's probably going to be on an offense that has to throw the football 500,000 times a game because their defense is horrible. Let me go to 17. I'm going to take DeAndre Hopkins of the Baltimore Ravens. Now, I don't really believe that DeAndre Hopkins has a ton left in the tank. I think last year with the Kansas City Chiefs, we kind of saw that. There was times where he, got into the end zone and he was fantasy football relevant, but other than that, we didn't really love it. The deal that he signed here was a 1-year, $6 million deal, so it's not even like the Ravens gave him a lot of money. In fact, he got less money than Tutu Atwell, he got less money than Diami Brown, and he got less money than Hollywood Brown in this cycle of free agents. So it's not like he was really even making a ton of money. He should be fine. Look, I'm more so buying the offense than I am anything else. I think DeAndre Hopkins is a player that has a lot of name value that people like. I think there's an argument that you could probably make for DeAndre Hopkins being a similar type of player, at least at this point in his career, fantasy football production wise, as Mike Williams might be for the Chargers next year, as Darius Slayton is at this point in his career, as Diami Brown and Josh Palmer are going to be. There's a lot of options that we could possibly talk about, but yeah, I'm going to go DeAndre Hopkins. The Ravens, they were one of the most efficient offenses in football last year, and if somebody's going to be the red zone threat, maybe it's Hopkins, because it's damn sure not Zay Flowers.
DeAndre Hopkins.
It's probably just Derrick Henry. It's just Derrick Henry in the end zone. That's all it is.
Thought Hopkins was dead, to be honest. He's still there. He just don't give up, man. He's like, I don't know, man. Hopkins, there's nothing. I feel like the Ravens get one of these guys every season. Like, oh, hey, you at the end of your career? All right, come on.
Dez
come
Bryant.
Be a Raven. Yeah, Dez Bryant. Oh, wasn't OBJ on them before? Wasn't OBJ
there
before? OBJ,
yep.
like, hey, you at the end of your career? Come on down. Maybe you could make sure Justin Tucker doesn't, Justin Tucker.
Okay, all right. Look, I will say, if we knew where these players were playing, I would probably much rather have a guy. I'm not even going to say probably. I would much rather have a guy like Stephon Diggs right now off of the injury than a guy like D-Hop. I would much rather have a guy like Amari Cooper if I knew where he was going, a guy like Keenan Allen if I knew where he was going. If I had an idea of where J.K. Dobbins was going, I might consider him over DeAndre Hopkins. There's a lot of options. In fact, when you and I were drafting at this last spot, I think I put Zach Ertz in there initially, and I was like, I'd just rather have Zach Ertz at this point than DeAndre Hopkins. But for talking purposes, I feel like a lot of people want to know about DeAndre Hopkins. My overall feeling about it is it's been over for D-Hop, and it's probably still going to be over. And he had a tweet a long time ago where he said, how many touchdowns would this offense score? And it was a picture of him, Lamar, and Derrick Henry. We're about to find out, but I'll tell you what, D-Hop, you're not the same guy as you were before. And I just don't, if somebody's excited about this, sell his ass. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah, one of these things, him, Derrick Henry, and Lamar Jackson, one of these things is not like the other. Like, that's basically what
It's
it
the
comes
picture
down
of
to.
those the three dragons where you have like the two that look mean and then the ones like cross-eyed. Yeah, that's kind of what it is.
Yeah, or it's like the picture of like Kevin Garnett, Paul Pierce, Ray Allen, Rajon Rondo, and Kendrick Perkins tweeting, "This is a super team." This is a super team.
So
Like,
we
no,
weren't talking
not
about you, Kendrick.
like, yeah, man.
All right. Well, I don't want to talk about D-Hop anymore. It's kind of sad because he was so good for so long, but those days are behind us.
Yeah.
Maybe a guy who's been so good for so long, but those days are behind us. You see what I did there? Who are you taking at 18?
Well, I think everybody knows who I'm taking. I'm taking the last gunslinger, the piece of crap himself, the former Green Bay Packer, the man who gets no love on this show, but I'm going to love him here at number 18. Can't tell you his contract details because he doesn't have one. Aaron Rodgers, ladies and gentlemen.
You're drafting him. You're drafting him blindly. You don't even know where he's playing, but you're just drafting blindly.
Drafted him on the idea that he's going to play for somebody. He's going to play for Pittsburgh. He's going to play for New York, or he's going to play for your team. Your team now. Hold on, wait,
Please
hold
don't.
on, wait, hold on. Because you sent me a little something yesterday saying that there's a 0% chance that this is all Diana Rossini conspiracy theories, right? Let's see here. I hope I still have it to pull up. I hope I still have it to pull up. I seen something earlier, and I know
You're talking about her damn buddies over there at the Athletic or whatever it is that she's at with Mike Silver and whatever his name is.
Yeah. You know, I read something just a little bit ago, and I think you'll like it because for some reason I also follow the Vikings. I don't know why. I just do. I don't like them, but I follow them just so I could give Andrew a hard time. Anyway, I can't find it. I'll tell you what it says. It says KOC is 50-50 on whether or not he wants Aaron Rodgers to join the Minnesota Vikings. 50-50. If you could get imagine Aaron Rodgers getting the KOC performance now. Just imagine that. Oh my God. He will complete the Brett Favre bingo card. Green Bay, New York Jets, Minnesota Vikings. Now, you know what comes next? You know what comes next. You know what comes next. You're a Vikings fan. The next thing on the bingo card is getting your career ended by the Chicago Bears. That's what happens on the Brett Favre bingo card. I can't wait till Grady Jarrett rips Aaron Rodgers in half and he shows up on Pat McAfee show with a black eye. I can't wait. But the only difference is that
technically the Brett Favre bingo card does have a Super Bowl appearance in it too, doesn't it?
Yeah, but
it wasn't one to remember, but
who cares about that?
There.
They put a bounty on him, and you know how that goes.
Don't even get me started on Sean Payton's sick ass. I hate his. All right,
the difference between that is that Minnesota at least has the future sitting right there. And I say all this to say this. All the joking aside, I have no clue. Minnesota has done a lot of very intelligent things this offseason. I wrote Kwesi off. I was starting to think Kwesi was trash. Just like a lot of people started to think Ryan Poles was trash. I was starting to think Kwesi was trash. He rebounded very nicely. Do not tarnish your great offseason so far by bringing Beaver Tooth Bastard into your locker room and having him be the quarterback of your team and complaining and talking all mysticism during his interviews, like, who knows future holds? Ayahuasca. Nobody wants to see that, okay? Do not bring that to Andrew's team. I don't like the Vikings, but damn it, I don't want them to go out like
Here's what I'll say. As a Vikings fan, and maybe this is just what we need to do to close the show because we're getting to the end here. But as a Vikings fan, I would be absolutely shocked if they did make the move of signing Aaron Rodgers. Is there a world where if Aaron Rodgers signs with the Minnesota Vikings, it works out and they win a bunch of games and they're a good football team? I think that's certainly in a world of outcomes. Is it the best case scenario? No. And the reason why I would be shocked is because everything that Kwesi Adofo-Mensah has said since he's gotten into the building has been talking about the luxuries of having a quarterback of the future on a rookie contract. The flexibility that gives your roster to be able to pay, guys like Justin Jefferson otherworldly money and guys like TJ Hawkinson and Aaron Jones and an offensive line and a defensive line and go get all these other pieces. That gives you so much flexibility. So the fact that we've kind of seen that be what he's preached for 3 years now, folks, he's done it for 3 years. He's preached that type of philosophy, and to see it starting to come to fruition, for them to sign Aaron Rodgers to me would be it would be so contradictory to what he has preached for 3 years that it would shock me. I would be blown away at that point because it wouldn't make sense to me. So, I think it could work out. If it happens, am I going to root for Aaron Rodgers? Holy hell, never thought I'd say that in my life, but yes, probably. And yes, I will be rooting for Aaron Rodgers if he's a Vikings quarterback. But I think that JJ probably I'll probably DH gate one from China or something just so I can get a cheap one, but at least I can rock one, you know. I won't give him the luxury of giving the full like Fanatics price tag, but at the end of the day, man, like I think this is JJ McCarthy's team, and I think JJ McCarthy is the quarterback of the future, and I think that that's the way that they should go. Kevin O'Connell has talked so highly about him ever since he's gotten into the building, and I think that Kwesi, financially, this is what has made sense. I just think it's all adding up together. Give the kid the keys to the car and let him run free. That's the way that I'm seeing this right now. So that said, I think Aaron Rodgers should and will sign. If I had to make a prediction, a bet today, if I had to place my money, I think he'll be a Pittsburgh Steeler. That's my opinion. That being said, I'm going to just give you like 2 honorable mentions of guys that I probably would have talked about. I think guys like Hollywood Brown re-signing with the Chiefs is interesting, especially if there's suspensions possibly to Rashee Rice still following last year's car accident. And he's coming off the injury, so maybe that's a little bit slow. I also think Joshua Palmer landing with the Buffalo Bills is interesting at 3 years, $36 million. A little bit of a field stretcher there. Matt Collins not there in that role anymore. Joshua Palmer is probably an upgrade that could be interesting. And then other than that, Dami Brown. I think Dami Brown, we saw him kind of break out a tiny bit last year for the Commanders, and seeing him go play the number 2 opposite Brian Thomas Jr. in Jacksonville, I think it could be interesting as well.
I didn't even think about Dami Brown. I used to think that he was the next coming prediction. I think an interesting one. Honestly, I only got one. I'll give you guys one. Daniel Jones, Danny Dimes, only because of how trash that Richardson is. He takes that job. You know, now we're looking at boosts for Pittman and Adonai and Josh Downs. I think he might actually be better for those guys. So I mean, that's all I'm gonna talk about probably.
I will.
Because if Richardson can't beat him out, he might as well just go ahead and be a backup somewhere.
I'm going to put it at 100% chance Daniel Jones plays starting quarterback for the Colts at some point this year. 100% chance. And I'm going to put the over under at like 4.5 games. I'm going to take the over. I think he plays like 5 or more games as a starter.
So you are guaranteeing that Anthony Richardson is a bust.
At least for the Colts. Can he go somewhere else and be okay? Maybe. But he's not going to be the franchise quarterback for the Colts.
He's a bust, ladies and gentlemen. He's a bust.
Okay, last guy that we probably need to talk about because he was good last year and we didn't even mention him. Rico Dowdle, he signed to be a complimentary piece, I think, at least the complimentary piece with Chuba Hubbard. Do you like Rico Dowdle as the RB2 there in Carolina?
No, I don't like Rico Dowdle.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. Rico Dowdle, nothing to be desired. Nah, that's it. I think he's going to be fine. People, I did a running back video a while back where I said that Carolina was going to add some depth, and there were some people that said, why would they add depth? Because they have Jonathan Brooks and they have Chuba Hubbard. Jonathan Brooks is not going to play football this year, folks. That is why Rico Dowdle is here. Rico Dowdle is going to play football for them. But that's it, folks. That's everything we have. We went a little bit long today, so I apologize. But I also appreciate you being here if you've been through the 18 rounds. We're going to put the teams up on the screen right now. These are the teams that we drafted. Let us know in the comments down below which team you believe is the better drafted team of free agents. We let War sneak one in there, getting Aaron Rodgers, who's not officially signed, but hey, there was only 3 quarterbacks that were actually signed unless he wanted Daniel Jones, but we'll let him do it. At the end of the day, if you did enjoy the content, make sure you hit the like button, make sure you hit the subscribe button, and make sure you go join the Discord. We do have a free Discord linked in the description. And War, where can they find your content at?
You can find my content on Crimson Mass Pro Wrestling on YouTube, and you can find my content on the Crimson Mass Show, also on YouTube. 2 separate shows, very different shows, both about professional wrestling, WWE, AEW, WrestleMania season's coming up. We're about to be posting a lot of content. Check us out, like, subscribe. Thank you.
Hell yeah. And if you guys like drafts, we did the free agent draft today. On Wednesday, I'll see you guys for a 2-round rookie mock. We're going to do a rookie mock with landing spots, hopefully, if I can find a good mock draft. But we're doing a rookie mock no matter what. So we'll see you then. Until then, though, peace out.